Next item on the agenda is 7B 4. Mr. Kimmel.
Okay, 7B4. I'd like to read the item and then speak to it and then make an amendment, if I may. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary for the tax agreement for the property taxes subject to revisions of the agreement between the City of Norwalk, the Housing Authority of the City of Norwalk, and Trinity Washington Village Phase 1 Limited Partnership. I'd like to move the item.
Mr. Kimball's moved the item.
Yes, Mayor, first I'd briefly like to speak to it. We had this is an interesting issue. We discussed it, and then there was a 2-year break while it was in court, and here we are today, and I think many of us are really happy to finally move forward on this. This is only phase 1 of the agreement. There are 3 phases. I'm not going to repeat what was said earlier, but I think that it's going to be a great thing for South Norwalk, and a lot of issues we have to address, but I'm very pleased that we're finally before the council. Now, I would like to make an amendment
Mr. Kimmel.
to the item. I would like to remove the words, let me say, authorize the taxes. I'd like to remove the words, subject to revisions. Remove the word subject to revisions in the first sentence. Then I would also like to add another sentence to the item. That sentence is, said agreement is subject to the transit-oriented redevelopment plan being approved by the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-127. Let me read that again. I am adding a second sentence to the item after removing those 3 words that I mentioned before. Said agreement is subject to the transit-oriented redevelopment plan being approved by the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 8-127. So that's my amendment to the item.
Okay, Mr. Kimmel has moved the item with an amendment. Do we vote on the amendment first and then the item? We'll vote on the amendment first as presented by Mr. Kimmel. Any discussion on that?
So,
Ms. Maggio.
do you want to go first, Ty? Or
Sure. The TOD piece is new to me, but I was under the impression that the Choice neighborhood was not under the TOD, and it was its own district, almost like the Special Services District of Washington Street. Yes.
Ms. Belts Jacobson, and
Would you step down to the mic?
I can hear.
I was just, from my understanding, the Choice neighborhood is separate from the TOD, almost like the Washington Special Services District that they've created. So I don't understand, so I don't know why we would attach the 2.
The reason why we need to do that is the authorizing statute, which allows the council or the city to enter into such an agreement, has certain provisions of prerequisite. And one of the prerequisites is that this has the area, which is the subject of the tax plan, needs to be included within a redevelopment plan, and that redevelopment plan has to have been approved pursuant to the Connecticut General Statutes 8-127. And currently, actually there is no current plan. The prior plan has expired, and this actually was not included within that prior plan. There's a new proposed plan that's pending, and that will be going through the approval process, and once that's done, then this will have complied with that requirement of the authorizing statute.
Tom? Are you aware of what the TOD says for the choice neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, have you even looked at it? Because the TOD has started back expanding when I know all of these areas that it's expanding back to were removed from the TOD. So what does it say for the choice neighborhood?
Well, it just includes that as a linkage area to the transit hubs that exist there. In fact, the zoning designation for the property is a TOD zone, so that the property is very much consistent with the goals and objectives of the transit-oriented development plan.
So the special service district designation, the choice neighborhood designation, what does that limit in respect to the TOD? Because I know the special services district specifically formed to be exempt from certain things of the TOD. So in the choice neighborhood is one neighborhood that's supposed to be protected and supposed to be price protected, meaning the homes will be rehabilitated and sold for affordable housing. Affordable at affordable levels. So, and we took it out of the TOD previously, or had it the last time I saw the TOD map, it had its special designation, and it was supposed to have some exemptions from the TOD. So I don't know why
I'm not familiar with any conflicts or limitations of those two overlay districts.
Does anyone have the TOD map? Because the TOD map has the choice neighborhood, Washington Street, and Townhouse Gardens, and they're exempt from everything that the TOD is doing in a lot of aspects. Meaning, those folks are never going to be priced out. So if we're putting the TOD back in this, then we're going backwards. So
Well, I think
I'm not ready to vote on that.
that's a different issue in terms of what it sounds like what you're talking about is whether or not we should approve the redevelopment plan or the TOD.
Well, if you're attaching this item to the TOD, then,
No, what
What
we're
do we-
saying. I'm sorry.
right? I mean, that was the amendment.
Mr. Sheehan is next door. Mr. Coppola is going to get him. Well, perhaps he can shed some light on this. My memory, I don't know what map there's two things I remember. One, we had to do something similar with the mall. We could not have final approval to the mall until we updated the redevelopment plan in the particular area. He's not there? Number two, I remember a map. Now, it may have been a map associated with this project, but what I do recall is that and I know there are some exemptions along Water Street that are not included in the TOD plan, but I don't know how far up they go. And in my mind, and I could be wrong. I remember visually seeing the Washington Village inside of the TOD. Again, I don't recall exactly what I saw, and it could be wrong. But we do have to have a redevelopment plan on the books according to general statutes before we move ahead doing this.
It looks
Yeah, I mean,
like,
one distinction that can be drawn is that this tax agreement does not impact the choice neighborhood's designated area. This tax agreement solely deals with 2 of the 3 parcels that are being redeveloped as part of Washington Village. So that the impact of the TOD would only have implications on the 2 Day Street properties that are being redeveloped and wouldn't affect anything beyond that. Because this tax, as Mr. Kimmel mentioned, this tax agreement is only for phase 1 of the housing development at Washington Village, so it's limited to those 2 pieces of real estate.
thanks, Tom. So the TOD maps look something like this. You have the area within the TOD map. Washington Street is a Special Services District, WSSD. Choice Neighborhood is the Choice Neighborhood. The boat yards have come out. across Water Street. The choice neighborhood is supposed to be exempt, which I don't know why I don't understand why we're tying them together. Same thing with, I assume that was the purpose of these special services districts, to exempt them from the TOD so that they are not so that these folks are not being priced out. But once we tie it back to the TOD, and especially if Tim's not here, I don't feel comfortable. I really don't feel comfortable with this. Because I need
Ms.
some more
Jacobson.
explanation.
If I can explain why we're doing that, is that because the statutory authority that allows us to enter into a tax fixing agreement states that we can do so for properties that are being rehabilitated by virtue of the fact that they're within a redevelopment area that's been identified on a redevelopment plan. So it's really the mechanism that gives you the authority to fix the taxes on the property of these 80 units.
If I may, so you're saying, and again, I'm thinking about what we had to do with the mall. Without a redevelopment plan adopted by the city, we cannot move ahead with phase one of the project.
We can't move ahead with this agreement.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So there has to be some redevelopment plan, and the plan that we have now is the TOD plan. And now you spoke with Mr. Sheehan today about this, if I remember.
I did, yes.
And he's on board with this.
Yes, what we were trying to do is to find a way in which the agreement would fit within the statutory authority that the council has. And this seems the way in which we can fit it is it has to be in a redevelopment area which has been included in a redevelopment plan that's been approved by the agency pursuant to 8-127.
Which agency?
Or the redevelopment agency has to approve the plan.
So the choice neighborhoods plan is a plan. Can't they just approve the plan for the choice neighborhood without tying it back into the TOD?
I don't know how that works.
I'm not comfortable with
Is
it.
time of the essence on this?
I believe it is because of the phasing of the project for the developer. They're under a deadline to complete, is it complete by an October deadline?
And how does pushing this back 2 weeks impact it until we can get the answers that Ms. Bowman is seeking?
I can't.
Would that have a negative impact?
When is the next?
August, 2 weeks from tonight.
We need a tax agreement for the project.
Yes. Mr. Kimmel?
Yeah, yeah, in a minute. A question, what possible adverse effects, my understanding of the TOD district was that, number one, we had a hodgepodge of zoning regulations down in that area of the city, which we had to get a handle on to allow us to do certain things. We finally were able to do that. The easiest way to do that, without having to go through the particular zoning regulations how they apply all across the city, was to come up with, to devise an area that made sense. And we call it a transit-oriented district because of the train station in the area and so many people who commute. Now, what that has enabled us to do is to make sense, to develop a rational series of zoning regulations which we're going to use when we deal with so many things that came up with AMEC and all of that. We're going to be able, through the TOD district, to make that area, from the discussions we've had with TOD, make it more housing friendly, where we won't find ourselves in situations like we did with the AMEC carding. So my understanding now, whether there's a technical problem, whether it's in or not, is one thing. But my understanding of the TOD as a special district would be a good thing, in that it gives us somewhat more control over the zoning in that area, and it also enables us to move forward on this plan. If you remember, we spent all those months and months and months discussing whether we wanted, on the details surrounding the GGP project, the mall. And then at the last minute, we had to make sure that we had an update in redevelopment plan in place. And we did. I think we may have done both at the same meeting. I don't really know. It was a technicality. In that case, it just enabled us. It allowed the city to move from housing to retail in that area. To me, having the TOD plan in place, and if it does indeed include the Washington Village transformation plan, it does enable to us have a better handle on some of the surrounding housing and the zoning, the applicable zoning in that area. So my point is, I guess, I don't see how it could have an adverse impact. That's my point. And so I'm not sure what the concern is here.
But that just actually, when you just said that, that just rang a bell, because don't we have the CNI implementation plan with the CNI group? In which case, we have a plan, and it can go under its own plan, because it has a plan. So we don't have to put it under the TOD for it to be under a plan when it already has its own plan.
Well, it has to be a redevelopment plan that's been approved
So
specifically.
redevelopment can approve the plan.
But it has to be
CNI.
approved according to the statutory requirements. So I don't know if that other plan has gone through that same approval process.
Mr. Kimmel asked a question I think was rather interesting. What possible negative impact would that have, not only on Washington Village, but perhaps some of the surrounding?
Negative impact.
If we were to adopt
If
the
we were to adopt
TOD,
this
if
plan,
it
would
were
there be a
included in
negative
the
impact?
TOD plan.
I don't know. I don't know that there would be.
Mr. Hempstead, I think you are next.
Just as a past history, this needs to be incorporated, and I realize when I was first like, why is he doing this? And I understand why Bruce is making the motion, because the TOD plan, which is coming up, I think, on the 23rd, it needs to be in place for this to happen, because there's all mechanisms of funding from HUD, et cetera, that is triggered and part and parcel of us adopting the plan. If you talk about, we had a big discussion a few months ago about blight and all that kind of stuff, and the wording that had to go into some of the stuff. The mission behind this is you're taking an area that's ID'd, that is near transit hub of some kind, so it's easy for walkability. It also has public transportation in, and that new TOD plan is the new redevelopment plan that was in place before, which is expired. I think it was good for 20 years, and I think it's up, and that's why we're introducing a new plan. So the language needs to be in there, because until we adopt it, until the redevelopment agency adopted it, which I think was going to go part and parcel, hand in hand, after a committee that was back and forward, because when they go in for their application, they've got to show cause, and they got to show the ability to say the city of Norwalk has a plan in place. The plan identifies these properties, and they can pursue other sources of funding, or i.e. low interest or no interest loans. So it's real important that that gets incorporated, especially at this point, since the plan we're not voting on for another 2 weeks. So I didn't understand why you're doing it first, but I understand now, and I think it's important we kind of move this along, because if you don't put the plan in this, in reality, then this agreement isn't in place, because it's based on the new TOD plan. So I'm saying that I'm with Bruce. I don't think we lose anything by moving this forward.
I'd like to move that we have a 5-minute recess.
Okay, all in favor? 5-minute recess, thank you. I know we have the code.
Okay, we're back in session. Okay, I'd like to call Mr. Sheehan to the podium. Mr. Sheehan, a couple things came up. First of all, I offered an amendment to the Washington Village item, and this was the amendment. It's a sentence that says, "Said agreement is subject to the transit-oriented redevelopment plan being approved by the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Connecticut Statute Section 8-127. So the question, among the questions that came up was, is Washington Village, or how did it come to be that Washington Village is part of the TOD plan? That's one of the questions, at least I have. And so the question is it?
Yes, it's always been part of the TOD
Always,
plan
always.
area. Actually, in terms of our application to HUD, it was recognized that this was a TOD initiative in terms of the redevelopment of Washington Village, given its proximity to the train station.
So in the maps that I recall seeing, that with TOD that had, where we did exclude some of the waterfront, but when it went up, it did include Washington Village.
Yes. What we took out of the plan area was the east side of Water Street, which...
That's right, it was the east side, okay. Fine, I think that was my major question. Thank you.
Further discussion? Ms. Bowman?
So he did clarify that it was always in the TOD. So that settles that argument. The point of the issue is the protection of folks' homes and their ability to stay there. So I think it's fine to say the TOD.
And I'm sure we all, and everybody appreciates your concern for that issue, and I think we all feel the same way and support that, and I'm glad you asked the questions and brought the issue up, so.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan.
And thank you, Mr. Sheehan, for running down.
How are you, drink?
Is there any further discussion on this item?
This is the amendment.
On the amendment, I'm sorry, the item as amended. So all in favor of the item as amended? It carries unanimously. Now we vote on the item. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Hempstead?
No discussion. I just want to compliment, because this project has taken from the days it was called Project Hope. Many mayors, many councils, many different majorities on council. But from day one, everybody's understood this was a game changer. South Norwalk was going to help the people who will hopefully come back. We're in Washington Village in an antiquated facility, and will bring a new life to that whole Water Street area that survived, because I think it's that important. It's a shame we lost a good year on a frivolous lawsuit, but I really just thank everybody for continuing to support this project.
And as you mentioned, Washington Village is the oldest housing complex in the state, public housing complex in the state of Connecticut. I think most of us at one time or another have been inside, and the people that live there are certainly entitled to upgrades, certainly entitled to have their quality of life improved, and to live in a neighborhood where they can enjoy the neighborhood and their neighbors. So we're all excited about it. And seeing any further discussion?
Just one point.
Mr. Kimmel?
You know, there was a short window of time since the lawsuit officially disappeared, and I want to commend the Housing Authority and a variety of city agencies, including our law department, really had to work quickly and carefully on this agreement, and we appreciate all the hard work in a short period of time, because we did lose 2 years because of the legal challenge, and now we've got to move forward on this. So thank you very much.
Mr. Saressis, was you?
No, I'm sweating from committing, and I have shorts on.
No further discussion being seen. All in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.